Hello and welcome to another day on Cornwall Pocket Farm. Nope, my microphone has twisted around. I have a new tripod and all of my setup is all different now. So I have my microphone on a paintbrush and the paintbrush is like literally just stuck into this little hole on my new tripod. I'm still trying to work out how the setup is going to work, but is it going to stay? Maybe. Otherwise I might have to hold the paintbrush like I've seen other people do on YouTube. Anyway, let's start the video. Hello and welcome to another day on Cornwall Pocket Farm. My name is Jenny and today we're going to be talking about knitting, as you would have seen from the title. It's been quite a while since I did a knitting update because I had a little look back and the things obviously that I was making in the last knitting update I've finished, well, mostly, yeah. But I've also started and finished a completely other jumper, and I have several more knitting projects on the go and crochet, and also I have some new yarn. If you enjoy my content, it would be very much appreciated if you could like and subscribe and do all those sorts of things. Comment below, share your thoughts and ideas. The algorithm really likes it. It really does help my channel, so that would be very much appreciated. I also add some other bits and pieces over on Ko-fi. The link is in the description box below, and also I think on my channel header somewhere. If you would like to go over there, there is some more content from various bits and pieces and pictures and those types of things. And also if you would like to support my channel, you can buy me a coffee over on Ko-fi. A big thank you to Chris. Thank you very much for the coffee. It's very much appreciated. Anyway, let's get on with chatting about my knitting projects because there are a lot. I was very tempted by some gorgeous, gorgeous colours, and that's the thing that does it for me. I must admit, colour is my big joy, and I see a colour that I love and I literally can taste it. I mean, it's just so gorgeous, and I saw all these colours that I loved and I just had to have some, and they were on sale, so that's my defence. So anyway, we'll get onto that a little bit later on through the video, so keep watching. Let me tell you about where the projects are, the ones that I showed you in my last knitting update. So I think I'd finished my green cardigan, and you would have seen in my sewing videos, like I wear that all the time. In fact, so much so that I've decided I need another one. So that is a sort of a plan for a future date. I'm aware now that we're coming into spring, and if I start like a chunky jumper now, it means that I'm going to be knitting a chunky jumper through the summer, which won't happen, and I'll put it down and I'll lose sort of momentum. So what I've actually started is a couple of summer projects really. So, but I do need another cardigan, so that is definitely in my future. The other thing I showed you was a little sort of scrappy yarn waistcoat that I was making, well, making up actually, because I got this free Japanese pattern off the internet, which was all in Japanese, so you have to sort of do a bit of Google searching and a little YouTubing to find out how to decode a Japanese knitting pattern, which I did. And then I, as I always do, changed it, so I did it in one piece rather than 3 panels. I put pockets in it. Yeah, I did a bunch of stuff. So obviously it was a man's waistcoat, so I had to change all the needle sizes and the yarn and the cage and everything really, size, the lot. But so I did that, and that is finished, and I have been wearing it, and it has been just perfect. They're just what I wanted actually. It's like a really close body warmer type waistcoat, so right sort of I can wear it underneath things, underneath jackets or underneath a jumper, or it's sort of like almost like an outside vest. Well, that's what it is. In New Zealand they call them vests, but for me a vest is like an undergarment, like a singlet under here, you know, under your clothes. Anyway, in New Zealand it is a vest which is supposed to be on the outside, which is what I'm rambling. Yes, I know what I mean, but there are a few words that are different in English, in New Zealand, Australian, American, and they all sort of interchange, and it's a little bit complicated. Oh, and what I'll do is I will insert here a bit of a twirl with me wearing it so you can see the final project. The next project is something that I started and I have finished, and I blocked it yesterday, so I haven't actually worn it yet. But I may have mentioned it in another video, I'm not sure. But this project is out of this book. I don't know if that's going to be backwards, probably is. It's the Knitting in Vogue book. I got it from a charity shop a little while ago. I actually think I showed you it in a charity shop haul. Yes, I did. Sometime I'll link it if I find that video. So this is basically sort of double vintage, if you like. So it says patterns from the 30s to the 80s to knit now. So this book was published in 1982. So because the book is vintage, the updated patterns are vintage, plus the original vintage to them pattern that they originally did. So I wanted a simple cabled jumper in a 4-ply, I think it's a 4-ply, yes. So I wanted a simple cabled jumper in a 4-ply and found this pattern which was perfect. So this, I mean, this is very 80s styling, big hair. I had hair just like that in the 80s. So it's really quite funny looking at these books because it's, yes, a bit reminiscent. But anyway, this jumper, I'm not as fond of the styling of this jumper, but this, you can see over here, this picture is a 1940s jumper, and this was sort of the look I was going for. So I made some alterations to the pattern, my usual alterations, which is I made the arms shorter because, golly, knocking things off. So I made some alterations to the pattern. I did my usual alterations, which is basically making the sleeve shorter because I have very short arms. I also then took it up the length. All of these patterns, all of these jumper patterns, I find they go well onto the hips, and I don't like a line going across my body at the widest part of my hips, which is not flattering. So I generally take it up a little bit, so I make a shorter style jumper. So I made the length shorter, I made the sleeve shorter, and I also made the neck a little bit wider because the vintage pattern, and also both vintage patterns, the 80s and the 40s, the neck was really quite high, and I wear a lot of collared shirts like this, and so I wanted it so that the neck would come around here, so that if I had a collared shirt on underneath, then that would sort of sit out underneath the neck of the jumper, if you like. So that's what I did. I'm really pleased with the outcome. Again, the colour was gorgeous. I mean, I saw the colour and it was absolutely divine. Now, what yarn was it? Do I even remember? No, if I remember or can find out, I'll put it on the screen, but I may not know. Now, I made that jumper in that colour specifically to go with my kilt, which again was something that I thrifted a while ago, and I'll put up a link to the video where I show you the kilt that I've got. Now, I still need to fix there's a leather strap on the hip which is missing, and I have some leather, and I now have a hole punch to make the leather strap, so I just need to make that and stitch it on. So now I finished the jumper, obviously I'll need to get on with that, because of course we are now into spring, so whether I'll actually manage to wear that kilt and this jumper, this is the problem, isn't it? If you knit winter sort of thick heavy wool in the winter, you finish it just in time for summer. So then you can't wear the thing you've just knitted. But nobody wants to knit a heavy knitted sort of 4 or 8 ply, I say 4's heavy for me, but you know, an 8 ply or a chunky wool. Nobody wants to knit that through the summer when it's really warm. So you tend to knit lighter things in the summer, finish those just in time for winter. So you can, I'm sure if you're a knitter, you understand how it goes. So this jumper probably won't get a lot of wear until next winter, by which time, hopefully, I will have fixed my kilt. But it also goes really nicely with my cord trousers, the bottle green ones that I already have, and also the sort of sage coloured ones that I'm making at the moment. Taken an age. It's been a very long project because it got interrupted with all that Art Deco project event thing. So I'm back onto it now. I just really need to do the hem and the buttons and those sorts of things. So I really should get onto that. But anyway, this is a knitting video, not a sewing video. So goes really nicely with that. I will do a bit of a twirl and show you what that has turned out like. And I'm very pleased with it. And a quick update update on my lace. So my lace is rocking along quite well. I've actually, it's made a big step forward because I have now got a holder. I cut off a bit of toilet roll and actually have it on the lace on the toilet roll because it was getting quite unwieldy. So I have quite a lot now of lace. What I need to do now, of course, is I need to work out exactly how much I want to make, because of course I have to finish the end so it'll match up with the beginning, and so then it will make a sort of seamless join. And it's not something that you can sort of cut off. I think that would make it unravel. So I need to actually finish it. Let me just wind this up, because I'm not paying attention to you at the moment. I'm trying to get this wrapped round again. Right, where was the pin? And very handy dandly, this now just slots in the top of there. So that is my very, very small carry it anywhere project, and I am making slow but consistent progress on that. So the crochet is actually to make a border on a petticoat, and I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to need. Now the other thing, of course, is I'm making the petticoat, so I can make it as wide as I want. So between the two things, I'm hoping that they will come together. So I don't know how much I've got of that, but I do have an awful lot more cotton left, that crochet cotton. Again, I thrifted that, and I have 2 large boxes of this crochet cotton. I think I showed you before, but I have 2 large boxes like this. And I got them from a charity shop, incredibly good price, and Mercer cotton, number 20. And I have 2 full boxes like this, so I have plenty of yarn, and it's so beautiful and vintage, and I want to do sort of nice things with it. And I'm really into my lace, so I should probably make more lace out of it. That's another advantage of having a tiny sewing room. Everything is to hand. So I have heaps and heaps of this cotton to do crochet, endless crochet with, and endless lace trims, and so it'll be an ongoing thing. Obviously after I've done this one I want to try out a different design, but my next project is going to be some lace gloves. I have a vintage pattern that I found in a charity shop, of course, and I thought it was absolutely glorious. Well, it happens to be exactly the weight of cotton that I have, and the crochet hook is exactly the same crochet hook as I am using for my lace border. So I would really like to make those gloves. So I'll put a picture of the pattern here just so that you can see it. It's got a gorgeous sort of flower border and then a little sort of triangle inset as well, which has sort of got some more flowers on it. Very, very pretty. And I did feel last summer that I would have liked some little summer gloves. When I was doing the, when I put together my wedding outfit, when I went to my friend's wedding, and I had the hat with the flowers on and a very flowery dress and everything, I really wanted some sort of little summer gloves to go with the look, and I didn't have any. So when I saw this pattern, I thought, yay, I could crochet some with the hook and yarn that I already have. Got the pattern. It's another 50-cent pattern from a charity shop, so yay, that's a project to do. I feel a little bit more confident now. This lace was actually my first crochet project ever. I have never crocheted before. Oh, I did do one sort of failed Christmas star, I think, before now, but this is the first sort of, should we call it successful crochet project that I have ever made. So I'm pleased with that, and of course now I feel confident enough to go on to trying these gloves. And I have actually watched a couple of YouTube videos where people have been making crochet gloves from a vintage pattern, so I feel all tooled up to give it a crack. So, oh, and also the pattern is my size of glove. My glove size is 6.5, and the pattern is a 6.5. So, like, what's not to love? It is perfect. I've just scanned the pattern back and front so that I can start that project, because I never like to actually do the knitting or the crochet from the vintage pattern, because you know what it's like, it's in your knitting bag and it gets all rumpled up and it gets a mess. So I don't want to damage the vintage pattern, so I keep that safely in one of those sort of clear plastic folder binders, and then I just basically copied it to actually work from. So very excited to get started on that project, and I have a sneaky suspicion I will start that before I finish doing that lace edge, because the wonderful thing about a crochet hook is that you take, when you're not working on it, it's free. It's not like knitting where the knitting is on your needles, so you can't reuse the needles once you're doing it. The needle is free, so, and there's only one of me, so I'm either going to be working on the gloves or I'm going to be working on the lace. I can use the same hook for both. Up here for thinking, I tell you. So So that's the next project that I've got on the go. Now the next thing is new projects. As I said at the beginning, I found all this gorgeous yarn when I went into Lupine. They had the sale on. So where shall I start? So the first lot of yarn is this. I haven't got my glasses on. Bitches and Bushes. So this is the yarn. Now I have done, you'll notice a bit of a theme with this because I have done the same thing multiple times. I couldn't decide because like all the colours were nice. I mean, they were all nice. So what's a girl to do, really? I mean, I bought one of those and one of those and one of those and then one of those. Well, I actually bought two of those because I thought, well, if I have two, then I've got a sort of a base colour. If it was like I could do cuffs and whatever in the base colour and then use these other ones as well. But of course, I don't have a pattern for these four colours. I mean, they're glorious and they go beautifully together and like yum. So I'm going to have to make it up. And at the moment, I'm thinking that this will be some sort of argyle pattern. Again, I'll have to make it up. But I'm thinking, yeah, sort of diamonds on the front of a cardigan is as far as I've got with this, but yum. The next new yarn I got is this yarn. This beautiful yarn is a Rowan Summertime Cotton 4-ply. And again, I mean, just glorious, glorious colours. Green, yellow, blue, yum. And red, and a grey. And just yum. So I bought all these balls of cotton and again, one in each colour. On this one I bought 2 of the turquoise. I also bought 3 of this colour. Now part of the reason I bought one of these and one of these is because it was in the sale. There was only one of these and one of these and one of these and 3 of these. So I bought 3 of this colour, which I thought was just scrummy. Now, I don't think this colour goes as well with the other colours. So the 3 balls I have of this colour will probably be a little sleeveless, short summer top type of thing. Still in the works. And I also had a plan that if I bought a ball of white, which they didn't have in stock, but of course they're getting more stock in, so when the white comes in full price, I could buy 1 ball of white, and with the 3 pink, I think that would be quite nice because it would just do a bit of contrast. But they didn't have a white at the time, so I bought the pink anyway, and I thought I'd buy the white later. So that's the plan for that one, a little summer top. This one I have already started. So this I'm calling my deck chair jumper. It's beautiful and crazy, isn't it? Look at that. I'm doing stripes. So I took inspiration from the Bayadere patterns, the Bayadere stripe patterns that you see sort of in the south of France, you know, sort of deck chair fabric. So I took the yarn and I actually did a test square in the needle size that was suggested for the yarn. And I sort of found out what the gauge for that was happy with the sort of the fabric it created. I liked how it looked. And then I went hunting for a pattern that I could use that for. In my pattern book stash, I have this one, again, from a charity shop. It is basically mostly sort of linens and cottons. It's mainly sort of summer weight fabrics. And in here I found, I'll put it on the screen, it'll probably be easier, but I found a sort of a basic, slightly drop-shouldered cotton jumper. So I sort of did some maths based on the gauge swatch that I'd done in the yarn that I have, the pattern that I'm basing it on to sort of work out which size I should do, because I basically went for the size that would give me the size that I wanted from the gauge that I'd done. And then I worked out the pattern. So what I did was, the pattern was I literally just used Google Sheets, and I made a row for each of the rows that I knew I would need, because I worked all that out with the gauge and the maths and the book and the pattern and all the rest of it. And then I just made all the stripes and mixed all the patterns up to make the pattern that I wanted. So I'll pop that image on screen here as well. So what I'm doing really is I'm following this book for the pattern. I'm using my Excel design for what colours I should swap out when. And I've also obviously taken some off the sleeves, taken some off the length. In that same book there is a jumper with a different neckline which I prefer, so I'm adding that neckline onto this pattern, if that all makes sense. Well, yes, so it's completely crazy, but really pleased with how it's going, and I think it will be quite a striking and jolly summer jumper. So of course I've started that now, even though this doesn't quite seem the thing to be knitting because it's still a bit nippy in New Zealand, but yeah, very pleased with that. I'm calling it the deck chair jumper, and the deck chair jumper is my main project at the moment. Plus I'm also doing another little project, which is I'm making a vest. I have this yarn, which is, it's actually Ashford 2-ply silk, and it's their undyed sort of blank for people that do hand dyeing, I think. And I'm just using it because it's incredibly good price, and it's in a nice sort of soft white, and I'm using it to make some underwear. So I'm just doing this sort of lace pattern. So it's a very lightweight silk, 2-ply silk. It's minute. I'm doing it on 2mm needles, and it's just a slow background project, and it doesn't need to be perfect. It's a vest or singlet or whatever you call it, like an underwear camisole, maybe you call it camisole. So that's what I'm making. I have previously knit in 2-ply a full slip, and I'm actually wearing it today. Can I show you it? I'm actually wearing it today. So here I have, it's got ribbon straps, and it's just, again, you can see it's just a sort of a same sort of wholly knitted thing, but I find that's really warm and cuddly underneath, and it's a full slip which I wear under my dresses. And so now I'm just doing the same sort of thing, slow project, in a 2-ply silk, and I think this will be nice to wear sort of in the winter, but also in the spring when it's a little bit chillier, or spring and autumn when it's a bit chillier. What else have I got? Let's have a little look at the book and see what I've missed. Now, the only other knitting project I have on, she says the only other project, does seem quite a lot, doesn't it? But yeah, I've got a big pile of sort of fairly precarious projects and books and yarn over there. So the other thing, of course, is my my socks. So I finished the red socks. I do have a pair. I still need to finish the ends and put them in my drawer, but they are done. So I made a little sort of wiggly border edge on the top of that, and I have 2 all done. Now, the reason that they're still in here partly is because I'm trying to create my perfect sock pattern, because every time I knit a pair of socks at the moment, I rework out the pattern, and I thought, that's a bit mad, I should write my own sock pattern. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm writing a sock pattern that basically is an ankle sock, a knee-length sock, and also that's where my stocking project will come in. I want to make a stocking length as well, and I'm doing it with 3 different cuff tops. So there'll be a sort of a frilly top, there'll be just an ordinary stretchy bind off sort of top, and then also a petticoat edge top. I think that's what I'm doing at the moment. Maybe a lace top, I'm not sure. But one of the things I'm trying at the moment, testing at the moment, in preparation for the stockings, I do knit a lot of socks, but I'm not a big fan of knitting in the round with the magic loop. I find it a bit irritating sometimes. So what I want to try out in preparation for my stockings is, can I make a sock in the round? Now, I'm using the red for the toes and the heels, and then I have this blue sock yarn as well. Can I make a sock, and then when I've gone past the heel and everything, actually open it up and knit it flat? So that's what I'm doing, because obviously if I could make some seamed stockings, that would be perfect. And I thought I would just knit it flat and then seam it up the back. So I'm actually testing this on a pair of, this is normal sock yarn, so it's much bigger than the really fine yarn that I have that I'm going to do my stockings in. This is going to be knee socks, so I thought I'd try it in this, see if I could separate it at the back and then put a seam up the back of the knee socks. And I might even do a seam in a contrast red just to sort of be fun and have a giggle with it. I shall do it with 2 strands of yarn held together for the toe and the heel. I shall knit it in the round up to the ankle, and then if I can separate it out and then knit it in the flat all the way up, then it would be much easier and quicker, I think, to knit up to thigh level on a flat and then seam it up later. So that's my plan, and that's what I'm testing. And obviously what I've also done is measured every part of my calf and knee and thigh, and as I go up, to make them sort of fully fitted and formed to my leg. So when I actually get more into that project and really have some idea and a finished product, I will actually show you how I've done it, how I did the whole process, how I actually measured all of my leg, how I made the pattern from it, the various versions of it, and all of that. But for now, it's still in sort of the R&D, research and development stage. It is actually being tested because my daughter is currently knitting a pair of socks, ankle socks, from my, I haven't really named it anything yet, but at the moment it's my perfect sock pattern. Catchy, but I should probably call it something just a little bit more sophisticated when I sort of release it into the wild, as it were. So that's pretty much all of my knitting projects that I'm working on at the moment. There are also a couple of other things that I'd like to knit, because I would like to knit a really chunky, well, for me it's really chunky, but it'll probably be like an 8 or 10 ply. I'd like to do a chunky cardigan for the middle of winter, because I found that my green cardigan is really nice, but in the really cold days it isn't quite warm enough. So I would like to do a really chunky jumper, but obviously I don't want to start that now because that'll take me into the middle of summer and it'll be way too warm here to actually knit a sort of a woolly yarn. The other thing I'd like to do is knit a hat. I found a rather lovely vintage hat pattern that you can knit, and also another one that you can crochet, which I'm very excited about trying. However, it requires some millinery wire. Yeah, millinery wire. Now, I have searched online, New Zealand, no, there isn't such a thing in New Zealand as far as I can tell. So I could import it from another country, but that seems a lot. But do I need to? I mean, this is my question to you. What can I use to form a brim of a hat that is like millinery wire but isn't millinery wire? Are there any hat makers out there? Please, if you make hats or know, could you let me know in the comments what I should use in place of millinery wire? Because as far as I can tell, there isn't any in New Zealand. Or if you happen to be a New Zealander and know if there's any millinery wire in New Zealand for the taking, please let me know and put a link in the comments about that. That would be very much appreciated. If you watch my sewing room tour video, I'll put a link up above or down below, somewhere in the description. If you've seen that, you'll see that I don't have a very large yarn stash. I do tend to keep, I generally have a few projects ahead. So I've maybe got 3 or 4, maybe 5 projects ahead, or yarn for those projects ahead. So I haven't got an enormous yarn stash. I've been quite reserved in that, but I have to say fabric is a different matter entirely. I have way too much fabric and I do need to start sewing that down. However, it's very difficult because a friend very, very kindly gave me 3.5 meters of the most beautiful red velvet you have ever seen. It's hidden underneath there, so I can't actually show you, but the colour, it is glorious. It is deep red, rich, brilliant. What am I going to do with 3.5 meters of red velvet? What's burbling away in my head at the moment is a velvet suit, a red velvet suit. Would that be fabulous, or would it just be fabulous? I mean, wow. But of course I've got lots and lots and lots of other projects and fabric that needs uning up first, so I really need to crack on with that. The problem, of course, is that now we're into spring, so I'm doing a lot of sewing and prep work for the new season, but this is a knitting video, so we should probably stop with all that. But I do have heaps of sewing to do as well, so it's busy as always. But I do really appreciate it that you spend the time with me watching my videos. It does warm my heart to think that all of you guys are out there watching me and just following along with what I'm doing, so I really appreciate that. Thanks so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.